You won't know your true might until everything and everyone you relied on is taken away. You won't hear God's voice until silence is your closest companion. And you won't grasp the resolve of a woman until she's been crushed by the person who claimed to love her. Some of you are weeping over a pain that is actually a hidden blessing. You see it as a failure. You think it's rejection, but it is repositioning. God is not breaking you to ruin you. He is breaking you to uncover you. The women God chooses do not come from a place of comfort. They are forged in the heat of brokenness. He breaks them not because they are feeble, but because he sees something within them that must come forth, something the world hasn't witnessed yet. God does not utilize what has not been given up, and he does not raise up what has not been emptied. Before he increases a woman, he must first reduce her to nothing but himself. God will remove what you think you require to show you who you truly are. He will take away the emotional supports. He will sever the deep ties. He will dry up the sources of reliance because you cannot walk in your divine purpose while your faith is still tied to someone else's thoughts. He's not trying to wound you. He's trying to set you free. Some of you are experiencing a holy separation. You feel alone, not because you've been forgotten, but because you are being reintroduced to your core self, away from the confusion, the applause, the demands. That loneliness you feel is not absence. It is a sacred time alone, where God begins to speak clearly. When God intends to employ a woman, he silences the clamor around her. He sets her apart because destiny does not develop in crowds. It matures in quiet places. God breaks the woman to cleanse her soul. You cannot bring bitterness into your assignment. You cannot bring fear into your future. And so he starts to strip things away, not to shame, but to purify. He is not turning you away. He is making you better. And he knows that if he doesn't break your need for emotion, you will ruin your own advancement. Every woman God ever used in the Bible was broken first. Esther lost her family. Ruth lost her husband. Hannah cried out in the temple. Mary was misunderstood and isolated. But from that place of brokenness came influence, power, and honor, because the oil only flows when the container is crushed. The anointing does not settle on flawlessness. It settles on total surrender. You see, emotional distance is not coldness. It is certainty. It is the realization that your soul belongs to God, not to acceptance. It is the stance of a woman who knows her worth even when others walk out. It is the peace of knowing that your identity is not defined by being needed, but by being selected. And when God breaks you, he is not trying to lessen your value. He is trying to show your strength. A woman who is broken by God no longer fears being by herself because she has learned that being alone with God is safer than being surrounded by people who don't understand her calling. She's not affected by compliments. She's not ruled by criticism. She doesn't chase approval. She carries a vision. And the breaking has instructed her that genuine love starts with right fitting, not clinging. You must understand that God breaks the woman he wants to rely on because brokenness is not about damage. It's about reliance. Can you still say yes when it hurts? Can you still trust him when the plan makes no sense? Can you still believe when the door closes? That's the woman God employs. The one who has fought in the darkness and emerged with her purpose in hand. The one who has suffered in private but stands strong is the one who has been emptied of her own self so she can be filled with heaven. And here's the secret. When God breaks you, he doesn't leave you in pieces. He rebuilds you stronger, wiser, purer, and more powerful than you were before. Because he knows if he can trust you with pain, he can trust you with purpose. If he can trust you with loss, he can trust you with a lasting legacy. And if he can trust you with being alone, he can trust you with influence. Brokenness is not a sign that God is unhappy with you. It is a sign that he is preparing you for something bigger than yourself. When God desires to use a woman for his sacred duty, he does not start with her strengths. He starts with her surrender. And surrender only becomes real when it is born through brokenness. You see, the vessels God uses must first be emptied. They must be cleansed of pride, freed of self-reliance, and disconnected from false safety. Because what God pours into a woman cannot remain with what the world has poured into her. When God breaks a woman, he is not destroying her value. He is uncovering her potential. That breaking is a holy work. It's the hand of the artist reshaping the material. Many women beg for purpose, But few realize that purpose is preceded by trimming. Before you can carry the weight of your destiny, you must be light enough to rise, and that means God will allow life to pressure you, shake you, and stretch you, not to damage you, but to cleanse you. He removes the fear. He removes the reliance on approval. He removes the comfort that keeps you inactive, because he knows that a woman who is too full of the world cannot carry the weight of heaven. This is why brokenness is not punishment. It's a stage, a necessary divine stage where God isolates you, calms you, and begins to do his deepest work. That pain you feel is not pointless. It is with a plan. God is emptying your soul so he can fill it with vision. He is breaking your bad habits so he can build your purity. And when the stage is complete, what emerges is not a wounded woman. It is a fighter refined by fire and ready to walk in divine power. When God sets his hand on a woman for a divine task, the first thing he often does is remove what is familiar. He disconnects her from the places, people, and comforts that once defined her. Because God refuses to let his daughters find safety in anything other than him. Separation is not unkindness, it is clarity. He begins to untangle her soul from things that dulled her insight, from voices that shaped her more than his word, and from relationships that fed her feelings but starved her spirit. He calls her away so he can call her deeper. You see, there comes a point when God interrupts everything. He will dry up the source that once refreshed her. He will close the door that used to open easily. He will silence the praise she once depended on, not because he is upset, but because he is eager for her full attention. God knows that if her sense of self is still rooted in titles, attachments, and applause, then she is not yet free, and he cannot build purpose on a foundation of false belonging. What God is creating in that time is something lasting. He is showing the woman who she truly is without the mask, without the mirror, without the noise. He is introducing her to the version of herself that doesn't tremble when others leave, that doesn't fall apart when times change, that doesn't compromise when pressure increases. He is securing her in an identity, not shaped by trends or trouble, but by a sacred promise. And it is in that holy separation that she becomes dangerous to the enemy, because now she is no longer distracted. Her confidence no longer comes from being needed. It comes from being known by the one who made her, set her apart, and called her before she ever took her first breath. When God begins to break a woman, it is not to show her weakness, but to uncover her hidden strength. Brokenness becomes the mirror through which she finally sees the depth of what God placed inside her. Often we believe strength is found in keeping everything together, in appearing unshaken, in doing and succeeding. But the truth is, divine strength is discovered when everything outside fails, and the woman realizes that what's within her is greater than what she lost. God uses brokenness to remove the outer shell of performance, flawlessness, and faking it. He allows life to press her so that the treasure within can be revealed. It is in brokenness that the woman stops measuring her worth by what she achieves and starts recognizing her worth by who she is. The storm doesn't show her frailty, it shows her ability to last. The loss doesn't define her failure, it reveals her faith. The rejection doesn't decide her value, it uncovers her vision. What looked like a collapse was actually a discovery in disguise, because God uses pain as the platform to showcase what he secretly put in her spirit. She begins to realize that her value was never in the applause, the relationship, or the title. It was always in her identity. And once she sees it, she can never unsee it. She starts acting differently. She stops begging to be chosen because she remembers she was already called. She stops waiting for permission because she understands she was already appointed. God uses brokenness to smash the idea of limits. The cracks in her heart don't mean she's useless. They mean the light can now shine through. She is not less because she's been broken. She is more because now she walks with the knowledge of the power that was hidden deep inside her all along. God does not rely on what he has not put to the test, and he does not use what he has not broken. When a woman is chosen to carry something eternal, she must first be proven in the quiet times. Heaven does not hand out assignments based on desire alone. It responds to endurance, honesty, and surrender. The breaking becomes the requirement. It is the divine test that determines whether the woman can handle the weight of the calling without being destroyed by it. God does not break her because she is delicate. He breaks her to prove that she is unbreakable. Testing comes before trust. Before Joseph ruled in Egypt, he was betrayed, sold, and put in prison. Before David wore a crown, he ran through caves. Before Esther saved a nation, she was taken from everything familiar. And before a woman can lead, speak, build, care for, or influence on God's behalf, she must first go through times where everything seems to be falling apart. It is not punishment, it is preparation. God allows it so that when she stands in her calling, she will not hesitate under pressure and she will not fail under criticism. The testing removes every fake reason. It shows whether she is still doing it for applause or if she is doing it to be aligned, whether she is seeking purpose to be seen or because she was sent. God does not give divine influence to a heart that is still tangled up with the need for human approval. So he tests her in silence. He watches how she handles delays. He observes her reaction when doors close. And if she remains faithful, worshipful, and obedient in the dark, then he knows he can trust her in the light because she did not let the pain change her attitude, and she did not let the fire burn away her purity. When God begins to raise up a woman into her divine purpose, one of the first changes he starts is emotional separation. Not because he wants her to be unfeeling, but because he wants her to be firmly rooted. Feelings are powerful, but they are never meant to guide. And when a woman is too emotionally tied to people, opinions, or the past, she becomes easy to manipulate and distract. God separates her so he can make her steady. He silences the emotional noise so that his voice becomes the loudest sound in her soul. Emotional separation is not toughness. It is holiness. It is the sacred limit where the woman learns to feel deeply, but not be led by what she feels. She can love without losing herself. She can serve without needing approval. She can walk away from what no longer fits without guilt or an apology. That level of clearness can only come when God has taken her through a time of deep inner change. It frees her from emotional supports so she can finally stand on the truth. When a woman becomes emotionally distant in God, she is no longer ruled by chaos. She is led by her firm belief. She is not swayed by changing moods or controlled by false closeness. She knows how to tell the difference between divine alignment and emotional attachment. She knows when to stay and when to leave, not out of resentment, but out of good judgment. And that good judgment brings power. The enemy cannot control a woman whose feelings are guided by truth. She is threatening to darkness because she doesn't react, she responds. She doesn't hold on, she lets go. She doesn't beg, she commands. And all of this comes from her ability to emotionally release what God never intended so she can fully accept what he has planned. A woman cannot step fully into her divine purpose while she is still desperate for approval from others. As long as her sense of self is linked to how others view her, she will live restricted by their demands. God cannot build his vision on a foundation that changes with every compliment or criticism. He must anchor her in something unshakable. And that is why he begins the breaking process, so she can be free from the need to be seen, approved, or praised by people. Until a woman is no longer controlled by the fear of rejection or the desire to be accepted, her purpose remains buried under performance. God wants to bring something eternal through her, but it cannot exist with insecurity. The calling is too heavy to be carried by someone still doubting their value. So he takes her through times where the affirmation stops, the praise fades, and the applause goes silent. He does this not to punish her, but to reveal that her value was never in those things to begin with. He shows her that who she is in private is more important than how she appears in public. When the approval disappears, her identity must remain. That's the woman God uses. When a woman no longer needs validation, she becomes powerful. She no longer changes her message to gain followers. She no longer lowers her standards to be accepted. She no longer hides her light to make others comfortable. Her confidence is not haughtiness, it's alignment. She knows who sent her. She knows who called her. And because of that, she can walk away from anything that doesn't match her assignment. Her yes to God becomes louder than her fear of being misunderstood. And in that place of inner certainty, God releases the completeness of her purpose. When God breaks a woman, it is not to weaken her, it is to wake her up. He is calling forth the treasure he put in her spirit before time began. Their gifts, wisdom, insight, resilience, and authority buried beneath layers of pain, fear, and false self. The breaking is how God digs through the surface to uncover the gold. Most women don't even realize what they possess until something shakes their world. It's in the breaking that the oil begins to flow. It's in the loss that the voice of destiny becomes clear. What feels like the end is often the start of divine insight. God already placed everything she needs within her, but it must be revealed. And insight only comes through brokenness. She doesn't find her power when life is simple. She finds it when she survives what was sent to ruin her. That's when her purpose begins to speak. That's when her spirit starts to lead. That's when she stops looking outward for strength and starts drawing from the source inside her. The pain doesn't define her. It shows what was always there. There is a woman inside the woman, stronger, wiser, braver, more aligned with heaven. But she cannot come out while the outer woman is still covered in fear, shame, and seeking approval. So God begins the divine work. He allows the disappointment, the heartbreak, the isolation not to punish her, but to peel back the layers and introduce her to who she really is. The enemy wants her to think she's being ruined, but heaven is saying, I'm revealing you. Her tears are feeding seeds she didn't even know were planted. Her silence is birthing clarity she didn't know she needed. And through it all, God is waking up the version of her that was chosen before the world began. So if you find yourself in a time where everything is being removed, where the noise has gone away and the familiar has disappeared, don't fight it. God is not trying to hurt you. He is trying to show the woman he always knew you were. He is not taking from you. He is taking the restrictions off you. The breaking is not the finish. It is the unveiling. The separation is not death. It is rebirth. You are not being thrown away. You are being refined. And when God is finished, you will rise up, not with the marks of defeat, but with the strength of destiny. You will walk not needing to be seen, but eager to complete the task that only you can carry. Because once God breaks you, the world cannot break you.